People have asked me to shoot videos when I do my service, and today I decided to go ahead and actually do that. This is an XTR Prod in pieces, and I wanted to kind of talk about the individual components so that people knew what was inside these cameras. Going from left to right, this guy right here, this is the camera part of the video tap. It's actually built into the camera. It comes right out, of course, but it's pretty easy to work with, which is nice. This electronic board and this board on top here are for the light meter. They're part of the electronic circuit that runs the meter. It's actually a relatively complex circuit. Not only does it have to have these two sensors right here and right here that actually display that actually do the pickup, but it also has to be able to display it. So part of this is a display driver, and part of it is actually the pickup side. So that's a really complex circuit. Obviously, on this side, we've got our mirrored shutter right here. This ring is the ring that the lens mount attaches onto, and it's the ring that you can do all your adjustment on for flange distance. Let's see here. This is the motor, obviously. The pull down is right here. You can kind of see this little gear right there, and if I spin the mirror, that little offset, this is actually a cam, and the cam has a slight change to it, and when that change happens, it moves this guy up and down, and that's how the pull down claw goes in and out. So if you watch this, you'll see it move down and then move back again, and that's the movement of the pull down claw going in and out. And of course, this is attached to the pull down claw going up and down. It's very, very simple mechanic. It's a really beautiful design. It's direct drive camera, so this motor, the gear goes directly in, and it has a little worm gear in there that converts it to run the mirror. And then this gear right there that you see going, this gear right here is what drives the magazine. These connectors, this connector here and this connector here, go to the electronics, which are actually over here right now. And we'll talk about the electronics in a second. This is the other side of the video taps. This is the electronics side of the video tap. This does most of the powering for the camera side. And then, of course, the output side of electronics is this box right here, which deals with basically just the output for the camera. And of course, this menu controls. This is the older camera. This is the first color camera they made. This is a version that's newer than this, which looks like this. That has a lot less in it. It's much more refined camera. This one also has a memory buffer. The memory buffer allows it to have a flicker-free design. So anything that says Video Sync Assistant is the flicker-free camera. So back to our camera body over here. This is the ground glass. And on the top here, you will see the beam splitter. You can't really see it very well. This knob over here adjusts the beam splitter, turns it on and off basically, and you can access this from the outside of the camera, which is really nice. So you can turn this knob and the beam splitter will actually retract so that you don't have to lose 20% of light if you don't want to lose the 20% of light. So yeah, that's basically the camera in kind of a nutshell. Hold on, let me get my focus back. There we go. That's basically the camera body in a nutshell. Obviously the viewfinder is missing. This is the viewfinder assembly. The viewfinder is really straightforward. The 35 cameras use the same viewfinder. The XTR, the LTR, they all use basically the same design. There's a prism in here that basically converts the light going up to going straight. And then the rest of the optics are very, very simple. There's a prism here, there's a prism here, and that's it. This bigger optical block is from the 35mm cameras, and it's basically only on the XTRs and the 35 cameras. I actually don't have another one here, so I can't show you the difference between them. But the other optical block is not quite as bright as this one. This is the one that's the brightest of the optical blocks that Aaton made for those cameras. The Penelope has a totally different optical block. This is for the heater, viewfinder heater. And this is what it kind of looks like. You can see through this optical block. You should be able to see the optical block. Yep, there's my light there. Yep. Anyway, so that's the optical block. Now, on the electronic side, electronics are a two-board system. It's actually two boards sandwiched together. One side is the controller for the motor, and then the other side is the electronics for the software side. So what happens is that when you use the software and turn the knob and all that stuff, it then saves onto the motor side of the controller, and onto an EEPROM. And today, the last couple of weeks, we've been replacing capacitors on this. We just did the supercapacitor today to try to resolve an issue the board has, but I believe it has some other issues that I haven't been able to resolve with speed, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in the camera, because I wanted to go through it and make sure there wasn't any loose connectors. One of the problems with these cameras is that these lovely connectors, these cables break off in the connector, and so it's really, you can see this one I've repaired. Unfortunately, pretty shitty, but it kept on falling off on me. It's been like the third or fourth repair, and it's just unfortunately a big problem. So yeah, these cables break off of the pins, and when that happens, you lose functionality in the camera, and it does all sorts of weird stuff. So part of the reason why I've had the camera apart here, not just to clean it, but was to check all these connectors and to make sure there was no loose cables anywhere else in the camera, which is a very common problem with these cameras, that they just basically break loose on their own. And so I just wanted to make sure there was nothing else wrong, because if there's any loose connection between the display, there is some electronics in the back of the display. If there's any loose connections between it, then it'll definitely not work properly. But what's happening to me right now is that it's not saving. You make an adjustment on this side, and it doesn't save to the EEPROM properly, which tells me that's actually something a little more serious. Camera serial number is inside the case here, 2073, and then the EEPROM is 1192. That's the software version of the camera. If you go into the menu, it'll say 1192 in the menu as well. So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like inside. They're all really handmade. The 35-3 is a little more handmade than this. This camera looks a little bit more like they actually made it in an assembly line situation. It's a little more straightforward than the 35-3. But yeah, that's pretty much it.